Welcome back to Big Fellas. How you doing, Darren? You all right, mate?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Mark. How's your week been?
Yeah, not too bad at all. It's been busy playing football. New season started, Man v Fat. We've won our first two games, so yeah, can't complain. How's life for you, mate?
Yeah, same. Busy start to the new year, as you know. Football going well, though. Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Looking forward to today's episode.
Yeah, we go international again today, don't we, Darren?
We do. Yeah, but yet again, from home, not actually going out somewhere exotic to record.
Yeah, we're going across to Vancouver in Canada today. We've got a gentleman called Adam Boyd coming on the show. And it's safe to say this guy has lived a life. He's lost 150 pounds, which is, what's that, 10 and a half stone, almost 11 stone in English money. So he's lost a chunk of weight, but he is, as he will explain, very much in the middle of his journey. There's still more to lose. So we'll talk about his journey, but we will also cover off some really other hard-hitting sort of men's health topics, mental health. I think the guy's had issues with addiction, including alcohol and gambling. And yeah, I think we're going to cover off a few issues here today. So it should make for a really good conversation. So
Sounds
yeah,
good.
so without further ado, let's invite Adam onto the show. Hello, Adam. How are you?
Hello, Mark. Hello, Darren. How are you?
Yeah,
good.
really good, mate.
Yeah.
Fabulous. First, I just want to say thank you for having me. I'm really grateful for the opportunity, and I look forward to chatting with some gentlemen from across the pond.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And before we get on, it's February. We're recording February. What's it like, mate? Weather-wise, is it cold as hell in Vancouver?
Well, it's I guess a lot of people would say it is cold. It's not the worst. It's probably like +5 right now. I know it hit -1 this morning. It's chilly. It's it's a winter spring Vancouver day.
Yeah, nice.
But it's not raining, so we're grateful.
Yeah, it sounds warmer there than it is here at the moment, to be fair, which is unusual. My friends in Canada, they live in Calgary, and they're like, it's -20. I was like, okay.
Yeah, those mountains protect us from that kind of coldness, but we sometimes get a chill, but this year it's been pretty mild so far, knock wood. So we'll see how it goes.
Good stuff.
Excellent. So yeah, Adam, let's talk about the weight loss first of all. Like I said, you're a guy who's lived a life, and we've got some many great things to talk about. But so far,
Yeah,
you're on 150-pound weight loss. Tell us
I
how you've done that and sort of where you're going with it.
fair enough. Okay, so I've struggled with weight my whole life. I've been 500 pounds plus since I was 20 years old. I'm 36 now. In my mid 20s into early 30s, I started a ketosis diet. This was pre-COVID. I lost 140 pounds in 11 and a half months. From there, I ended up having an injury at home where I broke my tailbone. Um, I went from 420 pounds up to 640 over the range of, 2.5, 3 years. And I kind of stayed at that 590 to 640 for a good part of, going into 2024. And then that's when it was getting to the point where I had to make a change or life was going to end quite shortly for me. So, yeah, I was grateful enough that my family doctor convinced me to try Ozempic, which I did, and it changed my life. Yeah, 100%.
And I guess, like I said, we've touched on it briefly already. So there's been some other challenges that you've faced in your life, and so I guess sort of maybe a tough question to start with, but was it the
Sure.
weight that was a problem, or was it protecting you from something else, do you think?
Well, I grew up with an alcoholic parent. I grew up with my dad was an older guy. He was, quite a few years older than my mom. So there was a little bit of a difference of, kind of life ideas there. And, mom enjoyed her cocktails, so to speak. I have an autistic brother as well. So, in the early 90s, autism wasn't what it was today. It's changed, right? So, and I don't mean change like, the issue is different. It's just more of they have more knowledge of it now. So back then it was, my brother, he got a lot of the attention at home because he needed it. And that kind of left me to to be on my own, so to speak, for a long time, and that kind of brought my life into where it went, right?
Mm.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. So that was sort of life early doors then, and then yeah. So then moving into adulthood, sort of where did your weight go there, and how did what I guess what prompted the sort of weight gain, shall we say?
Sure, sure. So I walked around like when I was younger, like I was always big. I remember being 13 years old and going into the gym in Coquitlam, where I'm from, and a friend of mine who's passed away now, but he kind of, I don't want to say forced me to jump on the scale, but he's like, "Come on, man, let's see how big you are," because my stature is quite big as it is. Even when I was 250, 300 pounds, I always kind of been broad, right? So and I remember being, 300 pounds at 13 years old and, feeling completely embarrassed and so on and so forth. And he was almost like thrilled that I was able to put on weight like that because a lot of guys that do bodybuilding and, competition where, they're trying to get big, that's a hard thing for a lot of guys to put that kind of weight on. And as much as it's been a curse for me to gain weight, it's one of those things that, sure, going from 250, 300 to 600 is a huge thing, right? But yeah, and then from there, I walked around in my teens years about at 240, 250 pounds. It's kind of where I was. And then I don't want to blame this on my the spouse, but when I met my kid's mom, we lived together, and that's kind of when I blew right up from being 260 pounds to 500.
Is that a case of, do you think you was it settling down? Do you think, and maybe not? I'll not say to trying, but I
Sure,
know when I've had two long term. I was married and got divorced, and then I got into another relationship, and both times I saw my weight increase.
right.
And was it a case of, like, I guess you're settled, so you think that's it. You don't seem to try as hard to sort of impress your other half. And I know that sounds sad, but it happens, doesn't it?
It's
It's
reality.
real.
It's reality. Yeah. And I think a lot of men deal with that, right? I think they meet a girl and they get, I guess comfortable, so to speak. And I don't want to use the term let yourself go, but that's basically what happened. I lived in a very chaotic world growing up. And I think when I had a little bit of calmness, I was able to really just be kind of happy, so to speak, about where I was in my late teens and early 20s. And then from there, food has always been a crutch for me since I was little. So I think being on my own and then having that aspect of like, oh, I can eat whatever I want, and I have a woman that's going to cook for me, or we can, order out. Like I never tried sushi until I met my spouse, like never. So like when I found Japanese food, I was in love, So and then that rice really sticks.
Wow. Yeah. So what do you do for a living then, mate? Are you sort of, more manual or more office based? Are you moving around a
Sure.
lot for work?
So I work in the auto industry. I'm a sales manager for a local auto group in British Columbia. We have 13 locations. I deal with a lot of I don't want to say challenging, but helping people kind of rebuild their lives credit wise. So I've gone through a consumer proposal or a bankruptcy or a bad divorce, and unfortunately things happen. I kind of help them get back on their feet with their auto loans.
Yeah. So it's not
Yeah.
like a massively manual job where you're burning thousands of calories every day
No,
at work.
no, no, no. It's very like, it's office work. It's, you're in a showroom, you sure you can walk the lot. You have a customer, you got to move around.
Mm.
We had a private sale on Saturday that we had one of the Vancouver Canucks come, and some of the other female hockey players from a team in Abbotsford. And there was a lot of moving around then, I guess, but I remember feeling a little sweaty on Saturday. But it's a lot of chilling. Yeah, it's a lot of more mental anguish than physical work for sure. I always kind of explain to people, they're like, "What's your job like?" And I say, it's like your paycheck's on one side of a brick wall and you have to run your head through it countless times to get your check. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's what the car business is like, I'd say. But yeah, it's been good.
That's sales
I
in
was,
general, I think, isn't it?
yeah, no, it is 100%. I was in the trucking industry before. I come from My dad owned a big trucking outfit in Langley, which is just kind of like a suburb town here. And we used to haul a lot for Caterpillar and Finning. It's heavy machinery, and then for breweries. So like we used to haul a lot of beer as well across British Columbia and Alberta. So I was used to that was my punishment as a kid. I would go and have to change semi truck tires. So that's very, I played a lot of sports growing up, but as I got older, I got a little bit more rebellious and I went a different way in life.
So when it comes to food, then Adam, what's your sort of? I know you said about the sushi and you said about takeouts and stuff, but for me, it's like
100%.
sugar. Sugar's my devil, like chocolate,
Right.
things like that. But what's your sort of what's your bad diet look like at your heaviest? What was the real problem with your food?
So I think it would be the delivery. So pizza is a big thing for me. I'm honestly not a big sugar guy. I like more starches. So potatoes are big for me, French fries, bread, pastas, I mean hash browns, like that kind of thing is really, but I like will severely overindulge in those foods. So I just don't eat them anymore.
Mm.
Okay, yeah. I
I-
said I'm with you on that, and it's starchy carbohydrates are more my vice, shall we say, than it would be
yeah,
sugars. Um,
100%.
yeah. So you say you don't eat them at all now. So
No.
what does your diet look like now?
It's protein and vegetables and fruits. That's it. I have a dietitian that I'm working with. She tries to get me to eat like a roasting chicken, like one of those. Do you guys have that where you are, where you can go to the grocery store and they have the pre-cooked chicken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's that kind of protein I have to eat kind of like one a day kind of thing. And then it's just vegetables and fruit. I bought a Ninja Creamy last year and it's a thing that I can put a pre-made protein drink into a blender, so to speak, but it turns it into ice cream. So it's really great. I don't know if you have them over there, but if you do, you got
Yeah,
to
I've
get one.
seen them. Yeah.
They're unreal, man. If you have a sweet tooth, get a Ninja Creamy, put your protein powder in there, it'll change your life.
I
You're
love that as
turning
well.
your protein shakes into ice cream.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And no
Oh, I
adding
love that.
anything. It's just that, man. And a little almond whip. So you still get that kind of my thing, like I like to get the sensation from food. I'm a stress eater. So I like to, I don't want to say gorge in food, but I like a full plate and, with vegetables and proteins, it's easier to do that instead of having, mashed potatoes. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, potatoes are good for you. Sure, they are. They're great. But just for me and what I do, they don't work for me anymore,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. They're okay, like in moderation. But the problem is, if you can't moderate it, then they're
I
not very
can't.
good for you.
I can't
Yeah.
at all.
If you're having sort of pasta twice a day and then some chips or French fries, whatever you want to call it, every
Right.
day, that's not moderation, is it? And I'm the
No.
same. I struggle with moderation. So sometimes extremes just works better for me. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's easier to say, do you know what? Fuck it, I can't eat that because I know that if I do, I'll be a dickhead about it and I'll eat it all.
Yes. And I'm the same way. So,
Mm.
the old, can I have one French fry? That doesn't exist to me. One French
Yeah.
fry turns into 6 months of just
Well,
eating whatever I
put it
want.
in alcohol terms. You never go
Yeah,
out for one pint, do you? Or one
never.
beer.
Absolutely not. No, 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 no.
Let's hope our wives
I'm
aren't listening right now.
no. When I go out, I have a mission, and it's not to have a beer or two. I'll tell you that much. But you know, I'm looking for the effects of it, right? And I never started drinking until I was in my mid 20s after my dad died. I was never really into alcohol. I was scared of it, to be straight with you. Living around an alcoholic my whole life, it kind of showed me the terrible parts of it. And I just never wanted to be that person. And then after my dad passed away, I got the job in sales, and then from there, you get invited to go out for a beer after work, and I did. And I was always scared to get drunk. I didn't want to lose the feeling of being in control, if that makes sense. Like I have a severe anxiety issue. I've had it since I was 12 years old. And so that was kind of a big thing for me. And then once I got over It's weird, but once I got over the feeling of what it's like to be drunk on different alcohols and I wasn't scared to get drunk anymore, it was game over. Like, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I think that's really interesting because yeah, I think you're right. Just from speaking to you for what 10 minutes,
Yeah,
10 15 minutes, it sounds like you've got a lot going on there that's kind of like you say chaotic and out of your control to a certain extent. Certainly growing up, and it's
100%.
no wonder then that food's the thing that you can control, isn't it? It's the way that you can reward yourself with something that you enjoy eating and
Absolutely.
have complete control over it. So I suppose you can see how those bad habits, if you like, can form. And I think we could all look back over our own stories and sort of find that sort of pattern where food is something that you can, look into the deeper meaning of it, should I say. Yeah.
100%.
So when you did start drinking then, was it like a regular thing with you or was it just sort of after work, few
Yeah,
beers
so
type?
it would be like we would go for a pint after work, and then you'd have 3 beers and then you'd leave. And then 2 days later, it was like every Friday. And then it was, okay, let's go out on Saturdays as well. And then it's, oh, we'll have a Caesar on Sunday to feel a little better. And then we're going out for Monday Night Football. And then it's Thursday night. And then it's Friday. And then it's like 2 or 3 years down the road, you're pissed 6 days a week. And I'm talking like, there's like where I lived in Mission, where I was for 15 years, the bar that I drank at, I would drink them out of alcohol every week. Like all the vodka they had, like I don't like well alcohol. So like from the gun, like I'm not a fan of that. I like it poured. And I would drink all their vodka in the bar. And I love beer too, but I get gout. Do you guys get gout over there?
Yeah, yeah, I've had my challenges with gout, and
Yeah.
we've not really spoke about it on this podcast, but fuck, does it hurt?
Yes. Yes. It's the word. It's brutal. And
Yeah,
I every time I get a little crack in my ankle, because I get it in my toe, I get it in the side of my foot, I get it in my
yeah,
ankle. Every time I get a little crack or something, or I feel it, I'm physically scared. Like I'm like, no, because it's
yeah,
5 days and you're done.
yeah, yeah. No, I was, yeah, my worst attack of it. I couldn't stand up. It was that bad.
I
And I
can't walk.
remember,
I'm like a club foot almost.
yeah, and I guess there'll be other big guys that are listening to this now that have had to deal with it as well, and it is not nice. How about
Oh,
you, Darren? Have you ever had to deal with gout?
No, well, funny enough, I was talking to a friend about it the other day who's actually a bar manager, and he was saying about it, and he said it's probably one of the worst pains he's had, and he
oh,
said he had it in his foot, and his wife, I can't remember what she said. He said she was like hoovering the house or something. She got very close to the foot, and he just couldn't. Yeah, he was like, I literally would have fucking hit her if she if she touched my foot. It would have been that bad. It sounds horrendous, to be fair.
Yeah, I've never known a pain like it. I could just remember like feeling my big toe just pulse with pain. It's the only way to describe it, really.
oh. It's and what's interesting is for a couple years, I thought cracking my toe, it used to give me relief because it's so swollen that when you actually like massage the big toe, you're almost moving the crystals around in your joint, right? But that would
Yeah,
just make it worse, and my foot would get
it
even
just
worse.
inflame it more, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Um,
and it's brutal. So I'm lucky
yeah.
that I can't eat red meat anymore because of it. So that's interesting with the diet too. I can't eat processed meat. So even a lot of people that are on weight loss programs will, do like dirty cheating meals, and they'll go to McDonald's and get like egg rounds or the sausage patties or, a burger and just do no bun. I can't even do that anymore.
Mm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Yeah. And I know
Sounds
there's a lot of red meats and like red wine and things like that are
yeah,
sort of like are known to sort
yeah.
of really cause it, don't they?
And
Um,
beer too.
yes.
mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and that was the thing. I think my friends and my work colleagues at the time just laughed, saying, "Ah, look at Mark, he's been living the good life too long. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. They call it the rich man's disease. That's for sure. But it's,
Is
I'm scared to have seafood. Like I won't even try it anymore. Like prawns,
oh wow.
crab. No, sushi, you get the artificial crab, but it's really just like a white fish that they dye it.
Yeah.
So, but I might eat steak once a month now just because
Yeah.
I've been sober for 13 months and I still get it. So it's in
Oh,
me.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just a booze for me. Right.
Cherry juice. Have you heard about that? Cherries are apparently very good for gout.
Yeah, and I mean, you can drink cherry, when you have a flare up, you can drink it, but it's not helping. The only thing that helps is the pills,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
or going to the emergency. Like the pain's that bad. People don't realize it. They've
Yeah.
never had it. You just got a swollen foot. No, pal. It's life changing, man. And not in a good way.
Yeah.
When you hear about what it is, like you said, with the crystals, it sounds, to be fair, that I think that puts it a bit more context. But
Yeah.
it's interesting. So, now you say then, so you've lost 150 pounds, which is, I think I worked out, it was about 10 stone and 7 pounds. So it's almost like an average, like healthy BMI person, right? So
Yeah.
well done for that, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm really curious to know, because actually, it just made me think. I love chicken. I could quite happily
Right.
go to Tesco's where they sell and buy a whole chicken and eat it through the
Yeah.
day. Quite
Yeah. You
content.
bet.
So how did you find that initially then? So I suppose the start with the question is, what sort of made you think, the doctor made you think, right, I'm going to lose weight, and then what made you think that's the way to go?
Just because, so I also get like the acid reflux or like indigestion type deal. So I used to get it because my body was so acidic for a long time, right? So like when I would get to the point where I was almost vomiting up stomach acid, and it was, if I'd eat potatoes or I'd eat rice after I was done eating, I would regurgitate the food. So like it wasn't even like, and I know from learning about how that I was eating too fast and it was too much, and my stomach just couldn't handle it, and I would puke the food up, right? But I don't have that anymore because I don't eat it. But I honestly just I kind of ate till I got sick, to the point like now where I don't even think about eating rice anymore. I don't think about spaghetti and noodles and that anymore, or like garlic bread. It's not even in my mind anymore. I see people having a sandwich and I'm like, oh, that looks great. I can get a keto wrap or a protein style wrap that has, you know, 4 carbs and 2 net of sugar and 6 fiber, where like it's basically balances it out to nothing for me with what I track for my program. And it's, 70 calories. So that works for me, and that's good for me. But again, a lot of people can. They see the sandwich, they see the bread, they see fish and chips. I love that stuff. I just can't eat it anymore.
So you started off with Ozempic, you said, I think. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
And did that sort of take the initial food noise, like, when you're trying to make that change? So, you got it in head, I want to lose weight. Are you still on Ozempic, or is that something you
So I'm
finished
on
now?
I'm on Monjero now.
Okay.
I've been on it this was my 4th dose this month. So what happened? So for me, when I would diet over the years, or I would, try to go through this program where I'm going to change my life or whatever. Okay. So I get my anxiety at night. So like I'll get a random flare up of anxiety during the day, but I can really control it quite quickly with deep breathing and whatever. At nighttime, when things are quieting and things are calmed down, that's when my brain starts to really rev up. So what would happen is then I would start ordering food at that time. So we're talking 9 to 10 at night when people are going to bed. I'm ordering a large pizza and chicken strips and fries and hiding in my room and eating that, right? Or, I'd go out on a guy's trip, and we'd come back from the nightclub and I would have, skip the dishes orders at my door because I'm drunk and I want to eat that food, but it's just that I'm stressed out at night. So that's when I would eat. The Ozempic killed that for me. So I didn't have that anxious, hungry feeling anymore. And basically the racing mind of, oh no, what's going to happen if I don't eat? And I couldn't get over that. And I'll admit that. Like I couldn't get myself over the fact of like, you're not going to die, Adam. You're fine. We just need to move on and let's have an apple instead of having, a burger and fries. But I just couldn't. I would panic and then I would want to eat to soothe it. And through therapy, I learned that when I was younger, whenever I did get attention from my mom, it would be when I was sick. So when I was sick, she tended to me and there was a nurturing aspect there. So from there, I learned food nurturement. So I guess that's why when I moved out and my wife moved into my house, I blew up in weight too, because now I'm just getting nurtured all the time from the spouse. So
Mm.
that's the way I chalk that up. But the Ozempic killed that for me. So
Yeah.
instead of now being stressed out at night about food, I'm not. I don't have the food noise. And it's not just food noise for me. My heart would increase. My mind would run. I would be frantic. And it's over food. It's crazy, but that was me,
Yeah.
you know?
So, but yeah, because I find it really interesting because that the heart running and those are the sort of physical signs of anxiety, aren't they? Your physical symptoms of it. So with the Ozempic, then if that stopped that sort of food noise, that food hunger, and I'm assuming the therapy, therapy's not quick, right? It's not a quick win, quick result. It
No,
takes a
no,
bit of time. So
sure.
what was that like then? How did you sort of deal with that? Initially, when you're on a Ozempic and you're not so hungry now, are you still eating just the apple and avoiding the takeaways, or did you manage to completely stop eating that time of night?
I didn't start losing weight until June 1st, and I started January 13th. So what had happened was I not only started the Ozempic, but I stopped drinking completely. And I went from drinking 5 days a week to no alcohol. And I didn't have like withdrawal symptoms of someone as an alcoholic would or something. I used booze as a crutch. Like after food wasn't doing it for me anymore, I would go to alcohol and then I would go drink. And then from the drinking, it was weird. Like I was at a point where I couldn't even eat normally anymore and feel confident eating. Like I didn't want to eat around people. I didn't even want to have like my meals around other people at all. Like I wanted to eat alone because I was ashamed to eat being so fat, right? So then the alcohol would then put me into a position in my mind where I felt comfortable enough to eat around people. But it's just a double dipping because now you're drinking 2,500 calories in your alcohol, plus you're eating a 1,000 calorie a day meal, and you're sitting on a bar stool for 8 hours.
Wow.
Doesn't work, right? So,
Mm.
but so once I started the Ozempic, and I had to work through a lot of like childhood traumas. Like that's kind of the main thing with me is that I truly stuck with this feeling of not being adequate, not being good enough. No one heard my voice, everyone, kind of the kid that was kind of left and forgotten about, which I was for a long time. Through my whole life, the fell through the cracks thing has been something that I've heard on repeat. It's been what it is. And I think when I got sober, I didn't have the alcohol anymore, but then I started eating a little bit more freely. And I didn't lose weight. And I remember from January to May, I had 2 doctor's appointments. And I remember going to the first doctor's appointment with the weight loss doctor and standing on the scale. And I think I had lost 2 pounds. And I'm in my mind thinking, I got this miracle drug. I've done this. Yes, I've stopped drinking. I'm going to drop 50 pounds, like blah, blah, blah. Right. But I didn't. And I remember so I started crying in the doctor's office because I'm like, what's going on here? Why am I not understanding the answer? But the answer was I had to heal myself before I could heal the weight, right? So it's like I had to figure out what was going on with the brain. From there, I was able to work on the body. And that's since June, since I started showing up for myself in that perspective, it's completely changed. So really from June to January, I've dropped 156 pounds.
Yeah, and
So what changed in that time?
Stopped eating the carbs. So there was no more carbohydrates at all. And I don't know if it was the dietitian so much telling me like, hey, you should try this, but I think I was just so done and I was just so emotionally beaten up and so just riddled with this like idea that I was going to die in my 30s due to being obese. And I just said, screw it. And I don't want to say my mind state became militant, but I just said, you know what? The other way is not working. So let's just try what's worked in the past. And it worked.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just thought I'd say I'll drop in as well. I've just started adopting sort of ketogenic diet,
Right?
and I'm cutting out the carbs. Surprisingly easy. It's
Yeah,
like it's one of those where don't worry about what you can't eat, focus on all the things you can eat
hundred
and
percent.
enjoy all those things. And so
Yeah,
I like my chicken. So yeah, chicken and vegetables. It was for dinner tonight. I've
yeah,
pre-packed at my lunch tomorrow. I've got some salad. I've got some eggs and a bit of cheese. I love cheese, and so
yeah.
yeah, things like that. And it's like yeah, and you have enough option and variety, then you're not. I don't think you miss it as much.
No,
Does
no,
that
and
make
it's
sense?
100%. And when you're not eating anymore to quiet, and it's like using like an alcohol or a drug term of like quieting the demons, but like when you're not eating anymore to like make yourself feel better about how much you feel like you're not seen or heard, and you're just eating to live, and instead of eating to drown your sorrows, so to speak, it changes the whole perspective of food, right? Like it
Mm.
really does. And I feel like, a lot of people will see this and be like, well, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? Why can't he just eat normally? But it's since a young kid, I've learned that food is comfort. And like a lot of us that go through things as when we're kids, we learn certain comforts. And some people learn comfort in drugs and alcohol, and unfortunately they go their own way. But then
That's the
yeah,
thing. We're so impressionable when we're young. Like
yeah,
it's no coincidence, for example, that if you're religious, so if you're Christian, you're probably born in the West. If you're Muslim, you're probably born in Middle East. But that's because from a young age, that's what's sort of bred into us, I think. And it's the same with
100%.
our bad habits. If we've got a
Yes.
chaotic lifestyle, or we've got some sort of form of trauma or whatever that is, and food's our way of dealing with it, then of course that's going to continue into your
Yes.
adult life. But when you're young, you probably get away with it more because of developing and stuff. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And what I love about this, Adam, is it's really interesting because me and Mark, I think Mark would agree, are big believers of like a holistic approach and not to
Mhm.
do everything at once straight away, because that
Right.
becomes unsustainable. And I really like your story where you've said, look, I've got that issue first. I've stopped the drinking.
Yeah.
That's number one. You get over that, you get used to that, you build those habits in, and then now it's the Ozempic, it's getting on top of the food, and that will help you
Mhm.
build good habits. And then it's like a never-ending process, right? I think.
Right. Right. The Ozempic actually help with the no alcohol either as well. Sorry. They're doing studies now that I believe I even seen that they're using GLP-1s for combating addictions now, which I didn't know that at the time, but they're now prescribing it for addictions because what it did for me was I didn't so like I've always ran from things in my life. So if I didn't want to do something as a kid, fight or flight with, certain situations, I'd always run. And when I got older and I learned that the bar will always be there, well, then I learned that I'll just go to the pub. That's it.
Mm.
Right? It's always going to be the same people there. Or, there's always going to be someone there to talk to. When everyone's drunk, everyone's your friend. So it's this state of, you're always kind of welcome, like the show Cheers, right? Everyone knows your name. But it's reality because now you're like, oh, well, I can go drink. If you have a little money, you can buy a round for people so people like you. So it's instantly you're getting the gratification that you're searching for anyways in a pub. So once I learned, well, I didn't even learn, once the Ozempic quieted down that for me to run, then I was able to start unpacking my life. And once I started to unpack my life changed. But I had to I found these videos of when I was a child, when my parents first divorced, and you can see the trajectory of my childhood where from age, born to 5, things were okay. And then when I got to be 8 or 9 years old, it's when things changed and you can see it. And I got to watch it with my kids because I'm a father of 4. And my sons, they don't really know about my past life. Like they have some ideas about what kind of kid I was. But they don't really know. And, to kind of explain to them and to sort of speak like, hey man, this is how my life was and look how your life is. So, puts it in perspective for the kids too. But seeing those videos really helped me change my life too, because I was able to understand that I wasn't crazy. These things weren't made up. This wasn't a facade that I was looking for attention. It was real stuff that happened to me in my childhood, and I never dealt with it. And then from there, the school system, I don't know what it's like where you guys are, but in Canada, it's quite messed up. And it was messed up 20 years ago. And now it's even worse. And I mean, there's a lot of good that comes from public school, but there's a lot of bad too. And I was part of the ones that, if you don't conform to what they want you to do, you're gone. And that's what happened to me. And that's what kind of sparked my life into interesting behaviors, one could say.
Okay. Talking of interesting behaviours, and I think what we've seen here is addiction has been a trouble throughout your life, Adam.
Absolutely.
And one of the other ones we haven't actually spoke about, but you informed me of beforehand, was gambling was a problem as well.
Yep.
Did this happen at the same time? Did this overlap with food and alcohol, or did one replace another?
Sure, the casino is your best friend when you're spending money, right? You can go into the casino and, nobody knows you, but, you could throw around money and then everyone knows you. So I think it was an attention thing for sure. I played Baccarat for a long time in the casinos here in Vancouver. I think north, I lost about $750,000. And that's not embellishing the number at all. Um, I worked in the car business. I did very well. I had a little family inheritance money after my dad passed away. I blew that all. But again, it was that whole thing of trying to find out who I was. But again, when you're in the casino and now you're able to, when I got into the car business is kind of when it screwed me up the most, because you have a bad month, you go to the casino, one time you win 10 or 20,000 bucks. So then you just think, oh, I'll just do this every day. Why do I even have to go to work anymore? Well, the casinos aren't there because you win.
Yeah.
Mm.
The house always
Yeah.
wins. It's a mug's game.
It's so true. And, I guess there's people out there that say they figured out how to gamble. I mean, I was doing it for attention. I never, yeah, gambling was kind of like the worst part because it was reality with the money, right? But, you know, when you got 6 double vodkas in you get a little bit more free to bet how you want. And I'm barred now from all the casinos in British Columbia. I'm not welcome in them anymore. So it's kind of a blessing, but again, I can't gamble anymore.
Okay. Is that how the gambling stopped then, was it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of one of those guys that has to burn a bridge to learn a lesson kind of thing. And, being excused from the provincial gambling has been it's been okay. And I don't, like I'm not going to look for a card game anymore. I don't they have like in the pubs here, they have like you can play Keno. It's like kind of like you pick numbers and then if your numbers come up on the screen, you win kind of thing. So you can do that in the pubs. I don't play that. They have pull tabs here. You buy a pull tab, you rip the thing open, and if you get the matching, you win $20 or 100. I don't do that anymore. I figured like I gambled a lot with my life already with being 600 plus pounds and, the alcohol and so on and so forth that I'm just kind of, I'm done. I'm done with gambling. 100%.
That's fair. And no, I'm glad you've overcome that as well. And it is, I've I've gambled a bit in my time. I've never become. I wouldn't say I've got to a problem gambling stage, but I got very close.
Yeah.
I remember when I was at university, a casino opened up in town,
Mhm.
and I'd go there and I'd spend like my weekends money. I'd work at a sports shop during the day, and then a pub in the evening, and then I'd take my money and go to the casino. And I did that for a few weeks. And yeah, I think the first time I won, and I won quite a few quid.
Eh,
And I think I don't know this for sure, but I do think within gambling there's a purposeful beginner's luck that everyone does win early on, because then that just
100%.
draws you in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. Do you have betting apps out there?
Oh yeah. It's
Like
everywhere.
yeah, Yeah.
It's provincially run here, so I can't even use them. So like the
Ah,
government
okay.
controls the gambling here.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So
Probably,
there's
probably,
private. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, they have the, the other betting apps. I'm not into them. I like NFL football. I might make a bet with my oldest son. He's really into the Baltimore Ravens. All three of my sons are big Ravens fans. So, I might make a $10 bet with them at home just for fun, but I'm not
Yeah.
spending thousands, and I'm just not doing it anymore. It's not I'm okay. I've learned my lesson there.
No, fantastic, and that's great to hear. And like I said, I liked your analogy to burn a bridge to learn a lesson, and certainly I've done that in my time as well, I think.
It's kind of twisted, but it works, right? As much as it doesn't, sometimes you don't need to go back to something that ruined your life, right? So it's good to be kind of excused from it, where there's no second chance to ruin your life again. And maybe this time it'll actually ruin your life instead of just deter you for a while, right?
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting though, because the thing is, Adam, you're clearly, you would almost say to yourself, I run away from problems, I did it, did this, did that, did that. But you're clearly a very resilient person to get through all that. Like, that would destroy a lot of people. An alcohol problem, a gambling problem, losing $750,000. I don't know what that is in British money, but it's a significant sum. Being as heavy as you were, and to come out at the back end of that shows a huge strength of character, I think.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, but
I really appreciate that.
no, that's fine. But what I'm wondering is, if someone was listening to this now and they're where you were, say 2-3 years ago, they're there now, and they've had a similar upbringing with similar environment and stuff, what would you say to them?
And it does get better if you put the work in.
Mm.
Life is not easy. It's going to make me emotional thinking about it, because it's hard, right? And I know the feeling. And it's surround yourself with positive people who truly want to see you do better, and don't ever stop fighting. Like, don't ever stop, and never stop swinging, because one day you will hit it and you will succeed and save yourself. Yeah, it's I want, I was suicidal 2 years ago, where I was very intoxicated, and I had a handful of pills, and I was drinking whiskey for some reason, which I'm not a whiskey guy at all. And I remember just like going to take the pills, and then I couldn't do it. I chickened out of that. And, I was alone. So it wasn't like I was doing it for attention. It was more of, I was done. I was done with life. I was, 600 pounds. I was broke. I didn't have this connection with my sons anymore. I was very at the point of, I thought my life was done, and I wanted to end it. And I'm so grateful that, God helped me. Right. That's all I can really put it up to, is that something in my mind didn't allow me to do it. And I'm so grateful that I was given that second chance, because moving forward, I feel like some days I get anxiety to the point where I feel like I'm already dead, and I'm watching life go on as if I wasn't here. And I know that's odd, but in my mind, when I feel overwhelmed, I get this sense of like, this is what life would have been like if you were gone, you know? Like, so of like observing my children interact with each other. Like, that's what goes through my mind. And I have to snap myself out of that perspective, where I'm like, hey, well, you need to focus on the positive things. But I get these feelings that I'm so grateful, and I become emotional. And, that was another thing for a long time in my life. I was so scared to like be emotional. I was so scared of public perception, of being a pussy for crying, being perceived as weak because you're emotional. I think it's the polar opposite. I have a close friend of mine who's been helping me through this journey for the last 3.5, 4 years. And he tells me all the time, he's like, just be yourself. That's why people love you. He's like, when you're trying to be somebody you're not, this is when you put yourself not only in crappier situations, but then you're trying to keep up to this mark, right? And then that's when the alcohol and the food or the drugs or whatever gets into play because you're trying to keep up to this character. I seen Jim Carrey's an actor from Canada, and he said a quote once about depression where, you know, when you're depressed, it's because the character that you're playing is tired. And it's true because, you know, it's hard to put on that resilient, you know, nothing can break you face every day and try to act like that's reality, but it's not. Reality is we're sad. Men are tired. Men are tired of being overlooked. You know, men kill themselves twice as much as women do. Why is that? Well, because no one gives a fuck if a guy dies. A woman, you know, and I'm not saying that it's tragic when someone takes their life. It truly is, regardless, men or women or whatever. But I feel like human behavior needs to change in the way of how we are not only perceiving others, but how we perceive ourselves. And I think that's where that mind state of when I look at certain things now and I feel like, oh, this is what it would have been like. But I think it almost trains me to appreciate the good times and even the bad times now than I did before. Now, when something tragic or, you know, I get stressed out or I got 18 things going at once and I don't know what to do, I take a deep breath or two or three, and I remind myself that there was a time 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago that I prayed for the life that I have now. I prayed for it. I prayed to be the guy that people called to help them with their problems. I prayed to be a father. I prayed to be a friend. I prayed to be a lover and to find love. Cause like, I don't even know it. You know, I know love with my kids and, you know, I was not raised in a loving home. It was rough where I lived. Right. So there was no cheerleading going on at my house for Adam. So I learned how to be that for my kids. But still, when I did that, I had to heal myself before it really took place. And that's kind of what this whole journey has done for me, you know?
I think there's like a lot to unpack there. Like, first of all, I'd say the thing that really sort of made me think was that when you say you chickened out of suicide, I actually think that you did the polar opposite because when
that was going to be my point as well. I was going to say you definitely didn't chicken out there, Adam.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that because, you know, it's one of, you know, but yeah, I do appreciate that.
You took the hard path and you put it in a graft, and as a result of that, you're now reaping the rewards. And it's really nice because you say, like, you know, that feeling of sometimes looking from an outsider's perspective and seeing your family, your kids and stuff. I think that's you know, that's not what you would have seen on the other side, because actually your family would have lost you, and I think that's really good. But what I think's the best thing for me is that you're such a good example of how you can go from feeling so low to just to saying I need to be strong, give it time, because time changes so much. Time and effort, it can just make such a difference. I see it all the time with men. And you're right, as I'm someone who struggled, like my wife hates it. I struggle so much with emotions. I don't think I've cried for about 30 years. And there's numerous reasons for that, and certainly not to go into now. But you're right, it's a weakness to not be able to, because I do genuinely believe that crying is the body's way of releasing that and to getting out and gone.
So true.
And yeah, as men, I think we definitely need to get better with it. I know I do. I've certainly, it's something I've tried to do, but yeah, I would never teach my kids that crying's for girls or gays or whatever you want to call it. Back in my day, you would have said that, but
sure.
Yeah. But yeah, no, really interesting. So Adam, what's next then? So sort of conscious that we're sort of getting on the time bit now. I don't want to take too much time up, but sort of, you know, February 2026, what's February 2027 look like for Adam?
Well, I'm looking forward to the next big thing in my mind is getting skin removal surgery. That's going to be happening within the next. I think I had a my first initial doctor's appointment for that with the surgeon is scheduled for June of 2026, and then from there, we'll be in 2027 when I think it happens. Um, I think just kind of getting more in touch with me as a person and then, working on how I can help others with my struggle and just trying to save other men out there, Like I think it's kind of my main goal for the next year. And I wrote a book last year called Saints and Sinners. It's a fictional tale. It follows the story of two brothers who were separated at birth due to their parents dying. They're twins, but they're not identical twins. And one twin, they go to live in an orphanage, and one twin is adopted by a woman whose boyfriend is in a motorcycle club, and the other twin has a little bit of a deformity, so to speak, and from an accident when he was younger, and he doesn't get adopted. He stays in the group home, and he's raised around the inner city youth kids, so to speak. And he ends up, running and doing errands for a local mob figure in the downtown core kind of thing. And in the background, the mafia and the bike club are fighting, and they hate each other. So what happens is these two boys are raised. One raised by the motorcycle club, one raised in a mob style setting, and they actually come to blows at a point in their life, and they find out that they are related and kind of what real brotherhood really means to them. And what wins. Is it going to be the life that they've searched for? Is it going to be the life that they kind of were born into, right? So it's a cool tale. I've had it hooked it up for 10 plus years, and getting to be sober and having enough non-anxiety moments in order to write it was very grateful. And it's out now, and but yeah, I finished another book from another trial and tribulation time in my life, and that'll be out in July. That's nonfiction. That really, the new one coming out really did happen. It happened to me and a couple of friends of mine years ago, and I'm looking forward to telling that story too.
Hmm. Brilliant. Well,
Yeah.
what we'll do is we will put a link in the bio for anyone that's listen, because that did sound quite good, that book. Saints and Sinners.
Yeah. Thank you.
So yeah, I'll put a link to the book on Amazon, probably in the bio. So anyone
I'm
that's
grateful. Thank you.
interested, wants to go and have a look, then do go click straight through and order the book. And yeah, mate, thank you ever so much for coming on. It's been really, really interesting episode, really good, really great story to hear. And like we said, congratulations, you're doing really well.
Thank you.
Absolutely, Adam. We really appreciate you coming on. You've lived a life, and the resilience you've shown is amazing, and an inspiration to other big guys that are out there. And if they want to make a change, it's realizing that it is possible.
It's not possible. It will happen. It will happen. And your life can be saved by just putting in the work. And I'm living proof of that.